Friends, welcome back to the channel. I'm so glad you joined me today. I wanted to just let you guys know how we're doing after Hurricane Milton and just chat a little bit about how we weathered the hurricane here. I'm in a different room than usual. I am actually home alone for a little while. So I have the freedom to be out in the main room. So you get a little peek at our built-ins that we just did in the family room here. But anyway, Hurricane Milton, OMG. You know what? In 2004, when we had back-to-back hurricanes, I feel like almost every weekend, we had Charlie, Jean, Ivan, there were so many. Those were bad storms. Those mostly hit like the Punta Gorda, Fort Myers area on the southwest coast, and were horrible for them. And we did have water intrusion in our house also at that time. But I will say Hurricane Milton was a force to be reckoned with, for sure. Of course, it made landfall at a Category 3, which, you know, the categories go up to 5, and there's no apparently high cap on the Category 5. It just, once it reaches whatever point that is wind-wise, that's just what it says. No matter if it's like 200 miles an hour, it's still a 5. At any rate, it was a 3 when it made landfall in Sarasota on the Siesta Key area. We are on the southwest coast of Florida. We are a little over an hour north of Sarasota. So, you know, you can get really a little bit complacent in Florida. I thought it was going to be a big deal. But I had no idea the winds that we were gonna have. Oh my goodness. We prepared. If you caught my last video, you saw my Walmart haul and the Costco haul. We had plenty of food. Plus my daughter wound up coming over and she cooked her heart out the night of the storm. We actually maintained electricity. I don't know, maybe it was until like 10 o'clock, something like that. But earlier in the evening, we were like, should we make chocolate chip cookies? Yes. If you're gonna have a hurricane party, you might as well. So we made cookies. She baked bread, homemade bread, which she's just an excellent cook. Oh my goodness. Which the bread turned out to be very useful because we did have that night. We had bought some my husband had bought some frozen lasagna, so we popped those in the oven while we still had electricity Wednesday night. And we had the bread to go with that. That was very nice. And then my daughter cooked green beans. So we had a very nice meal before the power went out. But we were prepared. We had plenty of food. So it wound up being not only my husband and I here, but we had my daughter and my grandson, the 1-year-old grandson, with us. Because her husband, my daughter and her husband are both nurses, and her husband works in the ER. So he had to work. So I'm glad she opted to come over here with us because I would have hated for her to be alone. So it was my daughter, my grandson, my younger son came. He is renting a room in Sarasota, and from an 86-year-old sweet lady who she wound up evacuating and hunkering down with us as well. So we had the gamut in terms of age. We had a 1-year-old and we had an 86-year-old. Oh my goodness, it was a night. As the night wore on, we lost power. The winds really started whipping around. The last I heard, and I haven't heard because we were kind of cut off a little bit in terms of electricity and news, I'm not sure how high the wind gusts actually got here, but the last I heard, we did have wind gusts up to 101 miles per hour, which is crazy. But the 86-year-old new friend, she started having severe indigestion. She was popping Tums, and my daughter is a cardiac nurse. She was like, "Are you having any other symptoms?" Because she let me know that apparently indigestion can be a sign of a heart attack. But thankfully, mercifully, she was okay. It was probably just nerves. Probably. We're hoping. But we were just trying to keep everyone alive. At one point, we kept hearing loud thuds on the roof. So we moved to the hallway, which we thought would be kind of a safe place, until we heard a very loud thud. And we weren't sure. I felt sure that was a very large tree that fell on our roof. So we quickly got all of our chairs and went into the formal living room on the other side of the house. We thought that side of the house would be more free of falling trees. So we all camped out in the formal living room with our flashlights and all of that until probably midnight. Some people felt like it was okay to go to bed. I think I went to bed around 1. And I was just laying there praying as I just heard the wind just whipping around like it was angry. It was so angry. And you just kept hearing debris falling. It was scary. I have to say I've been through a lot of hurricanes, but this one was different for sure. This one was definitely the most severe. And I don't want to go through it again, for sure. So yeah, I woke up early that morning. Somehow hubby could sleep. He was exhausted. He hadn't slept for several days leading up to the hurricane, between work and preparation. So he was tired, but I think I got up around 7, and then a little bit later, my daughter got up. So I wanted to poke my head outside because, we were all boarded up. I felt like we were in a cave, but I wanted to go outside and see what the actual damage was. And wow, I thought it would be a lot of limbs down. I had no idea that we would have massive oak trees down in yards, across streets. There were at least 3 blocking at different junctures of our street across. So those had to be cut away before cars could actually go through. It literally looked like a war zone. Neighbors were already at 7:30 in the morning already out there raking their yards and getting things cleaned up. That was admirable because I felt like I was just so tired. But it wasn't long after my daughter and I took a walk down the street with the baby, just to kind of survey things, check on a neighbor further down the street. And then I started raking and I had my son come out there. Eventually my husband woke up. I let him sleep a little bit. But we were all out there raking, gathering branches that were strewn all over the yard. It was just a lot. And today is, what is today? It's Wednesday. You kind of lose track. After a hurricane, it's Wednesday. So we are 6 days post Hurricane Milton. And the whole street, up and down the street, there's either massive portions of trees at the curb or just tons of branches. Every neighborhood looks like this. It'll be a while before all of that gets collected, but it will eventually. I was just happy that, Monday we resumed trash service because wow, our trash cans were reaching the brim because I had to totally empty out the refrigerator. We were without power, from Wednesday night until Sunday mid-morning. It was getting hot and humid because usually we are close to 90 still this time of year. Here we are mid-October. And it's hot. Today is a cool day. There's a little cool front that has come through. Praise the Lord for that. So today's high is only like 74, I think. So that's amazing. But it will soon, in a couple days, go back to upper 80s. But we'll enjoy it while it lasts. But anyway, I had to totally gut our refrigerator and freezer in the kitchen. Let me tell you some stories of kindness, though, from our neighbors. We have the best neighbors, I tell you what. Okay, so first, we didn't have plywood to board up. And then kind of at the last minute, you know, upon hearing more and more how severe it was going to be, we were like, oh man, we should have gotten plywood. Let me tell you, God provided, because we were able to buy some plywood from our neighbor, and that was just a blessing. And they're 8 feet long boards by, I think, maybe like 5 feet. They are heavy. My husband and I had to lift those onto the sawhorses so he could cut them to size for each window. And we have some arch windows, and oh my goodness, that took him some time to kind of cut the arch. First he had to do a template, and it was very elaborate, but we're definitely marking and saving that piece of plywood, because that was a lot of work. Then he wasn't sure his impact drill would work, so he went around the corner to another neighbor's house, and he remembered he offered anytime you need a tool, whatever. So he went and knocked on his door, and here it was like 8 o'clock the night before. And he said, do you need some help? And so my husband did not, did not say no. So the neighbor came over here, and zip, 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 they were able to put up all those pieces of plywood. We were literally playing like beat the clock game before the storm came in. So it was just a blessing how the Lord provided, not only help putting up the plywood, but the materials, and we weren't sure we had enough screws. God just provided. But then when it came time for cleanup, our neighbors across the street, he's from Germany and she's from Cuba. And I had to think, I was thinking Chile. No, not Chile, Cuba. Anyway, they came out the morning when everyone's raking up their yard with a tray of little espresso cups and chocolates and cookies. And they called me over. They were like, Amber, here's some espresso. And that was the sweetest thing ever. Here we are. Nobody has power. They had a generator, so they could warm things up. But that was the sweetest gesture. So they probably had maybe at least 8 little cups of espresso. So I let hubby have a sip. He didn't want too much because it had sugar. And then I gave some to my daughter. It was a communion cup of espresso that we all desperately needed, honestly. But it was very sweet of them. So, and then the other thing, talking about emptying out the fridge reminded me of that. Was I thought we were going to lose all the food in the deep freezer, which the deep freezer was almost full. So it was a lot in there. The fridge in the garage, thankfully, mostly had just drinks in there, sodas and water. Although I did just buy a case of eggs from Costco, so there was that. But I wasn't worried about the fridge, but the deep freezer, I would have hated to lose all the meat and all the other things in there. But a neighbor on the other side of us had a generator as well. And they said, throw us an extension cord, we'll hook you up, and as long as our gas holds, because people were running out of gas. Like I said, we were without power Wednesday night through Sunday. So that was very kind of them. And so we were able to save our food. And then Saturday night, we decided to stay the night with our daughter and son-in-law because it was quite warm and it's hard to sleep. And a warm shower would be nice. It was nice. So we decided to go over there, and we took our meat with us, and we did bring it, just in case, we did bring it back. We're like vagabonds. But yeah, so you know what, all in all, even though we have some damage, we have an adjuster coming on Sunday, But it could have been so much worse. We have some neighbors picked up some of our shingles off of our roof. We don't know how many are missing exactly until a roofer gets up there, but we'll see. The loud boom that we heard on our roof was not a tree limb after all. It was our chimney cap. So we have this like square, our house was built in 91, so it was a thing back then, but it's a square metal cap that fits on top of the chimney, kind of a seal and a cover. So that was totally lifted up, plopped up, and set down on the roof right beside. The frame on that is bent. I'm pretty sure it just needs to be replaced. New flashing, new ceiling, all of that. So we don't know what the extent is on the roof, but thankfully we didn't have any water pouring in. We did have some minor water intrusion. At one point, our son went to the front door to try to look out. We have kind of obscured glass front doors. And he said, "Oh, I stepped in a puddle." And I was like, "What? We have water?" So we think the water was coming in around the glass, around the door. So that probably has to be sealed at a minimum. So we have, and part of maybe a 5-foot, 6-foot stretch of our back fence is down. And I think the one part of our gate to the backyard came off. So, it's just like, it's a lot of little stuff, but I feel like it's a lot of little stuff that will add up to big stuff. Oh, and then we had a little excitement when we came back Sunday. I opened the interior door that leads to the garage to peek out there for something. I don't know what I was doing, but I happened to see a bat, and so I quickly closed the door, and I called for my husband because he's the pest department. I do not like all of that. So he went out there, shooed the bat out of the garage, and then it took a little bit of adjusting, so we had to hit the garage door button to the exterior a couple times. But after that, the garage door opener that's on the ceiling that controls the door started smoking. I had to run inside to get my phone. I thought I was gonna have to call for the fire department. Thankfully, I don't know how hubby was able to do it because he was not on a ladder, but he reached up and unplugged the unit. So that stopped the smoking. Thank goodness. So I'm thinking some water got into that electrical outlet that's on the ceiling in the garage. Oh, yeah, crisis averted. That was scary, for sure. Very scary. So we're not opening that door. Honestly, I think the wind probably affected the tracking of the garage door too, making the motor probably have to work harder. Either that or the rolling mechanism, something got messed up with the wind. I'm not sure what. But yeah, so I'm thinking we need a new garage door and opener. I don't know, unless they can adjust it. Adjust the door, that is. It definitely needs a new garage door opener, for sure. But in terms of our neighborhood, hubby counted at least 8 houses in our neighborhood had large oak trees to fall on them. 8. And thankfully, we have a neighborhood group chat, and we all stay pretty much in touch. I don't know all of the neighborhood, but I know a lot of them. But thankfully, nobody has gotten hurt. That is merciful. Trees fell on cars, on houses. Thankfully, at least 3 of the houses that I know of, it was on their garage, so it wasn't a living space. So that was good. I mean, if you have to have a tree fall. These oak trees are, I don't know, judging from the width, the circumference of them, I'm gonna guess they're 200 and 300 years old. They're massive oak trees, massive. Several years ago, we had 2 trees in our front yard removed. We paid somebody to take those down and do some tree work out back because we were worried about the pool cage, them falling on them. And actually the 2 out front were facing our house. One was very close to my sewing room. So we were so glad that we had that tree work done. Preventative work always pays off. Of course, our pool screen, there's so many panels that need to be replaced of the pool cage, but that's that. And I think one of our gutters on the side of the house is kind of mangled, but that needs to be replaced. So it's a little this, little that, but it could have been so much worse, so much worse. So we are grateful. At the end of the day, you know, we're just so thankful that our family is okay. On Friday, hubby and I went to go check on our older son and his wife and my 2-year-old grandson, because I needed to see them, even though we had been in touch and we knew they were relatively okay. They had some damage to their house, and so we just wanted to go and see them, and that was very good. So we spent a good part of the day there. Hubby was able to go to the grocery store, which was lovely because not too many stores were open. Probably still today, not that many stores are opening. They're slowly opening. So yeah, I put in a grocery order and they are supposed to resume service tomorrow, I think. So hubby has been able to get a few things here and there. Yesterday, I went over to my daughter's house and helped her do some packing because they're planning to move into their house. They should close in about 3 weeks. So exciting. So I got lots of baby snuggles with my 1-year-old grandson and lots of packing done. So Grammy is a little tired today, but you know what? I have things to do. There's always things to do. So yes, we're slowly getting back to normal. I had to check my notes on what I wanted to share with you. I think I hit all the high notes. Slowly getting back to normal, whatever that is. I tell you, going through a weather event like this and you're just not sure how it's going to end, I tell you, you pray a lot. And I think the main thing is just to take care of ourselves and take care of each other, and to just trust that God will provide for every need. And you know, he always does. He always does. And I am so grateful and so thankful for his mercy and his protection for us. And I do pray for so many who were affected by Hurricane Milton and who are still recovering from Hurricane Helene. It's been a year. It's been a year. November 30th marks the end of hurricane season for us, and it cannot come soon enough. So I have been composing a list on my cell phone of hurricane preparedness kit moving forward. You know, you can think that you're prepared. You've got the flashlights, you got the bottled water, the canned food, the manual can opener, you know, all the things. But there's always so much more. So I definitely want to get one of those cell phone power banks. My son had that, so that was handy. But you know, when you don't have power, that was a big thing. My cell phone battery, we would have had to go out to the car to charge, and that takes forever. Plus gas. Gas was a huge issue up until a couple days ago. Let me tell you something about my son-in-law, my daughter's husband. He is so thoughtful. We stayed overnight, Saturday night, like I said. So he got up super early because I think he got up at like 5:30 or 6. And he wasn't working Sunday, but he knew he had to go in early Monday morning, and he needed gas. Which is kind of a stressful thing after a hurricane, because there aren't that many gas stations open, especially in our area. There was a real shortage. So he thought he might have to go to Tampa to get some. But at any rate, he found a gas station, gassed up their 2 vehicles, and even got our keys while we were sleeping off the hook, and gassed up our car. And I was concerned about not having enough gas for the next day, because Monday I had to go and babysit my 2-year-old grandson like I normally do. So here I woke up to not only eggs and bacon that he was cooking, which was delicious, but a full tank of gas. So that was the sweetest thing. Really meant a lot to us. You know, when you think about others, when you don't necessarily have to, it's not your responsibility. But when you think about others' needs, it just means so much, and you never forget their kindness, never. So that was really special. So that was my last worry on my worry list, and then I could check that off. That was a blessing. So now there is gas. Many stations. Some gas stations still aren't open. I was driving yesterday, and some, you know how they list the price on the digital sign? Some say 000. They don't have gas. And then, of course, during these times, post-hurricane, you will see the fuel tankers come into town or even leaving town with a police escort, because people get crazy, crazy. Let me tell you, one of the most kind of frightening things was so many traffic lights were out. And when we were traveling on Friday in particular, that was each intersection, you know, you're supposed to treat it like a four-way stop, but a lot of people haven't gotten that memo apparently. I don't know, it's like taking a chance on your life. Thankfully now most traffic lights are operational. So yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot. A lot of cleanup, a lot of power issues still. So like I said, I am definitely praying for all of those who have been affected, but I wanted to give you guys an update on how things are around here. We are blessed. We are blessed, and I am grateful. So I hope you guys are all doing well. I just wanted to update you and let you know we are doing as well as we can. We're trying to get some rest. You know, your adrenaline is all keyed up during the storm, and then when it's time to come back to normal, it's exhausting. All of it. All of it. But anyway, I trust you guys are blessed. Please like, and if you haven't already subscribed, please do that. It's free. And I will talk to you soon. God bless.